So the new Tau Codex is out in force, taking down a new grand tournament in style with 2 undefeated army lists. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today I thought it would be interesting to take a look at the competitive face of the new Tau Empire Codex, with a couple of very powerful lists which both choose their way through 7 other armies on their way to the top in an event with over 150 people in attendance. As always with a new codex, it's interesting to see how people put theory into practice and the first combos that people start to build around in a new book. Definitely a good showing for them at their debut, and get to see 2 different takes on powerful army lists. First up, here we have the Tau Sept list, played by Alex Harrison, who used it to take down the Beachhead Brawl, though only finished a few scant points ahead of Vic VJ, who placed in second with his Tau. In any case, the winning list was built around 2 Tau Sept patrols, broadly speaking 4 meaty units of damage-dealing battlesuits, a melee crisis commander and Longstrike, and a few auxiliaries for objectives and actions and things. Starting out with perhaps the 2 biggest and most notable units, there's 2 really big units of 5 crisis suits, each of which are backed up by 5 shield drones, which help keeps the squad just below 10 models and avoid a few penalties like that, such as the squad taking more damage from blast weapons. The first squad seems really general purpose in terms of damage output, taking a cyclic ion blaster, flamer and plasma rifle, 3 nice general purpose guns, a bit of an all-rounder unit that's going to be able to deal with anything quite nicely. They've been equipped with velocity trackers as their support system. That'll be a +1 to hit against fly units, and that's kind of handy, meaning they won't need to expend a marker light if they're firing at those targets, and they don't have a -1 to hit. One of them takes an air-bursting fragmentation projector instead of a plasma rifle, and one appears to have a target lock instead of a velocity tracker. The big crisis suits seem like some of the best receivers of buffs, things like the Ethereal Sense of Stone or the Commander buffs. Certainly this squad will get on well with the Commander's reroll 1's aura, allowing you to overcharge those cyclic ion blasters and not take too many mortal wounds. Finally, one of them also takes an Iridium suit, all the better for tanking a little bit more damage. The other unit of crisis suits is really playing hard into the Ignore's line of sight weapons. 5 of them are equipped with 2 air-bursting fragmentation projectors and 1 plasma rifle, and again they're supported by 5 shield drones, 1 Iridium battlesuit, and that suit takes the stim injector as an enormously tanky battlesuit to take the first hits. That's a serious amount of Ignore's line of sight firepower there. Certainly looks like quite a reliable way to clear off objective securing units in the midfield. Between these guys and the broadsides, there's really quite a lot of Ignore's line of sight firepower going on in the list. Absolutely tons of shots with low strength, AP -1 and Ignore's cover, the exact sort of thing that gets on really well with the Tau stratagem for 2 CP, to get a +1 to wound benefit when you are focusing fire. Finally, for the big units of damage dealing battlesuits, there's 2 units of 3 broadsides. Broadsides are looking like they're the most efficient gunline tower unit now. Heavy firepower and smart missile systems, combined with the core keyword and being infantry and a tough platform. Both of these squads of broadsides take heavy rail rifles, the smart missile systems, and again they also have velocity trackers, giving them +1 ballistic skill against fly. They're both fairly well protected with drones as well, each of them having 1 marker drone and 4 shield drones to better absorb enemy fire coming in. The anti-tank firepower is pretty great, certainly when souped up with marker lights. It works quite well with the Tau reroll 1 hit or wound roll on a powerful shot, though I must admit all those smart missile shots do seem just as scary to me. Huge amounts of light infantry are just going to get removed by that. Leading the force there's a trio of HQs, first up an Ethereal with Sense of Stone and Wisdom of the Guides, and of course taking that pretty much auto-include relic called the Humble Stave, which allows him to cast an extra invocation per turn, and also get +1 to the casting rolls. Pretty much no point in bringing a standard Ethereal unless you're bringing that. The Sense of Stone gives you the 5+ Feel No Pain, Wisdom of the Guides generates you a command point each turn, really means that this list can absolutely go to town on the Tau stratagems, and the Ethereal's equipped with 2 character protected marker drones for some nice +1 ballistic skill, a horror drone for a bit of manoeuvrability, and also the Exemplar of Montcar trait, a really powerful one for the battlesuits, meaning that you can reroll wound rolls against a unit within 12 inches if you are using Montcar. That's just going to be ridiculously brutal on either of those units of crisis suits, particularly the general purpose one. Overall, a ridiculously efficient HQ. Next we've got Longstrike, the Tau Hammerhead commander. He takes the fearsome new improved railgun and 2 smart missile systems. Seeing as he hits on 3+ innately, he's almost guaranteed to get that railgun shot on, and again combines nicely with the Tau reroll 1 wound roll to allow him to reroll the wound roll if he gets a 1. Certainly seems powerful to put sheer terror into any enemy vehicle units that do rear their heads. I believe currently, prior to the FAQ, I think there is a janky interaction where you can protect Longstrike with crisis bodyguards, I was wondering whether people might be using and abusing that for a bit, but it appears that there's no crisis bodyguards in this list. It seems like the sort of interaction that's almost bound to get patched out very quickly, so it's quite a good choice not to exploit it in the meantime. Finally, for the Tau HQ choices, we have the Melee Crisis Commander build, the one that takes the Onager Gauntlet, Thermoneutronic Projector, and the Precision of the Hunter Warlord trait for full rerolls, and it adds up to a character that's just remarkably damaging both at range and in combat. As well as the melee power, he also takes a Fusion Blaster, Flamer, and Plasma Rifle, and ignores cover with a target lock. Again, he has a couple of character protected marker drones, pretty handy things to have around, and can also take a big punch for him if he needs it. The Crisis Commander certainly seems pretty decent to stop those battlesuits getting bogged down. He allows them to advance and shoot for no penalty, and also fall back and shoot, as well as giving those nice reroll ones to the Cyclic Ion Blasters at an even greater radius due to Tau Sept. Finally, we have a little bit of auxiliary support, 2 units of 6 Vespid Stingwings, I'm sure taken in units of 6 for the new Retrieve Nachman data secondary, the one where you basically need 6 models to guarantee the action. Once they've dropped down though, they really are quite efficient damage dealers in their own right, with a bunch of Strength 5 damage 2 shots. Filling out the troop sections, there's 2 Kroot mercenary squads. They could just be used to sit back on home objectives if needed, though could potentially advance into the midfield if they needed to with their pre-game moves and OBSEC. Between their shooting and melee, they do put out a fair amount of damage on light infantry for the points, and then a nice small expendable unit of Kroot Hounds. Really not a bad use of 24 points, I think. A really good disruptive unit that can either jump forward and take objectives, perhaps move block the enemy if there's something key trying to get through, or screen out an important part of the board from deep strike. Overall, it looks like a really quite terrifying example of what the new Tau can put together. 6 really problematic units that can be enormous threats if ignored, and a lot of the time you're really going to struggle to deal with them. There's a whole ton of weapons that ignore line of sight, the direct fire weapons are utterly lethal, everything's going to be running around at breakneck speed, likely using Montcar to advance and shoot at full effect for the first 3 turns, and when you do even catch up with the units, you're likely to be hit back hard, either firing in close combat, or even just being countercharged by the Tau melee commander of Doom. Moving on to the second list, which again is another Tau Sept list, certainly has a few common themes, but also does quite a few things quite differently. This one was run by Vic VJ. He managed to take second completely undefeated with it, and was only a few points behind the first. Perhaps the main differences are the first one went very broadside heavy and brought Longstrike. Vic's list goes very heavy on Tau commanders, a bit less ignores line of sight firepower, and supports the crisis suits even more as primary damage dealers. To lead the list, there's no less than 3 battlesuit commanders, made possible by 2 Tau Sept patrols and a Supreme Command detachment for Shadowsun. Shadowsun's always going to be a massive damage boost. She allows one unit to have full rerolls to hit per turn, packs a couple of dangerous fusion blasters, and her Warlord trait also allows you to redeploy 1 unit at the start of the game, or more if you choose Cao Yon. Again, there's a very similar ethereal, again with the Sense of Stone, Wisdom of Guides, and a hover drone, but no marker lights on this one, and no exemplar of Montcar. That's saved for a Crisis Commander. That Crisis Commander is maybe set up as a bit more of a buffing piece. He does have a Cyclic Ion Blaster, Plasma Rifle, and Target Lock, also takes the Dominator Fragmentation Launcher, that's the Strength 5 Airburst one, that if it hits a target, they suffer a massive -4 leadership penalty, which even for things like Space Marines might almost guarantee that you're going to take at least 1 more morale casualty. He does have that exemplar of Montcar to make one of the Crisis units reroll wounds at close range, and also has 2 marker drones. Finally, there's the appearance of a Cold Star Commander. This guy zips around at 14 inches, can redeploy mid-game, and gives one of the Crisis Suit's bombs the ability to advance 8 inches turn 1, giving them a really nice threat range. He's set up in a really anti-infantry pattern, with 2 airbursting fragmentation projectors, and then a crazy amount of mid-strength AP-1 damage 1 burst cannon shots, which he'll be able to reroll all hits and wounds with the precision of the Hunter trait. It does look like really quite a fun build to use. This guy's going to be spitting out somewhere around 25 shots each turn, or with AP-1, which could be better with Montcar, and those shots all get to reroll their hit and wound rolls, allowing him to clear out squads really easily. He also makes great use of the Tau Sept relic, the Vectored Maneuvering Thrusters, increasing his move up to 16 inches, maybe plus an advance, and more importantly, when the enemy gets to charge him, he gets to move away, realistically meaning that the only way to kill this guy is to shoot him unless he's absolutely surrounded. Provided you can protect him from being shot, then he isn't going to die. Quite scary to have that amount of firepower with that amount of maneuverability, and near immunity from close combat. For the Crisis Suit bombs that they'll be leading into battle, there's 2 of them. The first maybe is a bit more anti-heavy focused. They take a Cyclic Ion Blaster, 2 Plasma Rifles, and a Shield Generator each. There's 4 shield drones in the squad, 4 marker drones, 1 Iridium battlesuit with the stim injectors that give him that temporary 4+ feel no pain, and one of the suits trades out its shield generator for an early warning override, allowing the unit to overwatch for 0 CP if desired. The other one maybe isn't such a different story. There's 5 crisis suits again. They trade out 1 plasma rifle for a flamer, again take the same setup of mainly shield generators and 1 early warning override, and go a bit heavier on the shield drones with 7 of them and no marker lights. I'm going to guess that out of the 2 battlesuit bombs, I'm going to guess that the top one might be aimed to do a bit of jump shoot jumping. They've got slightly longer ranged weapons and have all the marker drones, and perhaps the other one might be aimed to be summoned in with the stealth suits with their homing beacon. That one can allow them a turn 1 deep strike if they need to, and potentially pick up 4 rerolls to hit if they want it via a stratagem. The stealth suits also have their own burst cannons and a couple of marker drones for a bit more marker light action. Lastly for the suits, there's a unit of 3 broadsides, again equipped in pretty much the same way, heavy rail rifle and smart missile systems, though this time taking an advanced targeting system over the velocity tracker, a bit more move and shoot without penalty, either if you're taking Cow Yon or you're going to be doing a bit of moving around late game. Again, they're very nicely protected with a couple of marker drones and 4 shield drones. Finally, for objective and action duties, there's 2 units of 10 fire warriors with pulse rifles, most likely to hold down home objectives and provide some quality fire support if the enemy does get too close. It'll be interesting to see whether people tend to pick these over Kroot these days, and it's kind of interesting to see no Devilfish played in either list, particularly now they've got that very nice jump out and fire stratagem. For a few more roving marker lights, there's a unit of 4 marker drones, 40 points for a bit more +1 to hit doesn't seem to hurt, and then there's a unit of 5 Vespid Stingwings, could be used fairly flexibly, maybe jumping in to do actions and things, or could just hit the enemy for more anti-elite infantry damage. Overall, or at least on the first showing for Tau, it does appear that the Tau crisis suits are back in force, often being backed up by broadsides, supported by a commander and ethereal, and a few support units for objectives and actions and things. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a few more different takes on the army over the next few weeks. I feel like Storm Surges and Devilfish certainly might see a fair bit of play, and I'm sure there'll be a fair few people running around with multiple hammerheads just for the sheer power trip of deleting vehicles in a single powerful shot. In any case, congrats to both players. Having a strong army list won't necessarily get you very far in a GT, not without some serious player skill for the later rounds. So let me know what you think then. Is this going to be the competitive face of Tau going forwards, or are there other things that you'd expect to see in the future? Feel free to let me know any other insights on either list that I've missed. I'm sure there's going to be all manner of subtleties that I'm skipping over, and I'm certainly happy to learn more if you've got any insights. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly be aiming to keep some regular Tau videos coming for the next few weeks. It's going to be fun to take a look at a few more of the datasheets from the Codex. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, which you can find down in the video description below. Making all the content does take a fair amount of time, and if you are enjoying regularly, then any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.